Shiva and Parvati, symbol of love, devotion, and faithfulness. Shiva is the god of the yogis, self-controlled and celibate, while at the same time a remarkable lover of his spouse. He is the destroyer, following Brahma the creator and Vishnu the preserver, after which Brahma again creates the world, and so on. Shiva is responsible for change, both in the form of death and destruction, and in the positive sense of destroying the ego, the false identification. Shiva's first wife was goddess Sati. After the death of Sati, Shiva lost all interest in the world. He withdrew to his mountaintop, Mount Kailash, and took residence in a cave where he immersed himself in intense meditation. Before the death of his beloved Sati, Shiva had given the boon of invulnerability to a demon named Taraka. When Shiva gave up the world and the heavens, Taraka realized that this was the perfect time to attack. Soon the demon had taken over both heaven and earth, and chaos reigned supreme everywhere. The gods tried to do all in their power, but in vain. Ultimately, they turned to Shiva at this dire hour, but Shiva was uninterested. According to one legend, even if Shiva wanted to do something, he would not have been able to. When Sati died, Shiva also lost all his powers. The reason given for this in one of the stories of the sacred Hindu texts is that Sati is a reincarnation of Shakti, and Shakti means power. So when Sati died, Shiva lost his Shakti. He was powerless. Shakti represents the energy, the force without which Shiva is incomplete. Origin of goddess Parvati. In their desperation, the gods then turned to the goddess Shakti, imploring her to be of help. Shakti agreed to help and took the form of the goddess Parvati. Parvati was born to Himavan, the king of the mountains. Parvati means mountain, as the Sanskrit word for Parvati is Parvat. An excerpt from Valmiki Ramayana describes the birth of Parvati, Uma, and her marriage to Shiva. From Meena, this Ganga is emerged as an elder daughter to Himavanta, and a second daughter. By her name she is Uma, is also begotten by Himavanta, O Raghava, and that Uma, who is unified with her rigorous sacrament, thus became a reverential to all the worlds, and that best one among mountains, Himavanta, gave such a daughter to Rudra, an unequaled one in his aspect. Parvati's love for Shiva. Even as a young girl, Parvati was in love with Lord Shiva. As she grew older, Parvati blossomed into a stunning woman filled with grace and beauty. While she captured the hearts of many kings and princes, she only had eyes for Shiva. There is a story which mentions that in an effort to win his love and affection, she decided to visit the cave where he was meditating and started cleaning and decorating it. However, he remained unmoved by her love and dedication. She also tried bringing fruits for him, but he remained steadfast in his meditation. Not once did he open his eyes or acknowledge the presence of Parvati. It is said that Parvati then turned to the goddesses of love and longing, Priti and Rati, the consorts of Kama, the god of love and passion. They turned the cave that Shiva meditated in into a garden of pleasure, filled with flowers, trees, birds, and bees. Once the cave was packed with enchantments, and wonders. They called upon Lord Kama. Upon his arrival, Kama wasted no time in shooting Shiva with the arrow of desire. The arrow had no effect on Shiva. He was, however, intensely angered at being disturbed. Enraged, Shiva opened his third eye and reduced Kama to ashes. With the destruction of Kama, Parvati lamented to the other gods that love has been lost to the world. She reassured them, however, that when Shiva accepts Parvati as his wife, Kama will be reborn. Parvati had tried everything in her power to make Shiva notice her, but nothing worked. Finally, she decided to do what Sati had done to win over Shiva. Parvati left all the riches and comfort of her father's palace and went to live in the forest as an ascetic. It is said that in her trials, Parvati surpassed even the greatest ascetics. What she went through was even greater than what Sati, Shiva's first consort, had endured. She went through the most rigorous self-mortifications, from walking in the winter snow without clothing to sitting under the hot summer sun for days, to standing on one foot motionless for long hours, to eating nothing for days and surviving on the sun's nourishment. In fact, her asceticism was so intense that it is said to have been equal to that of the great Shiva. Following in his footsteps, Parvati soon had utter control over her body and her mind. Parvati's tapasya generated great amounts of energy and heat. This heat and energy finally reached Shiva, who was shaken out of his meditation. When he was finally back in the world, Shiva wondered what or who it was that had wrenched him out of his intense tapasya. He then heard the story of how Parvati, in order to have Shiva as her husband, went through much rigorous self-mortification and achieved a state of asceticism almost akin to that of himself. So impressed was he by her self-sacrifice that he immediately agreed to make Parvati his consort. The excerpts from the Prabhasa Kanda of the Skanda Purane gives us a conversation between Shiva and Parvati, where Shiva tells Parvati, "In this Varaha Kalpa, O goddess, you became Parvati, obtained by Himavan through his penance. When the Chakshusha Manvantara has passed off, O beautiful lady, due to the anger of Daksha, you had to be separated from me for the duration of a day of Brahma. Your span of life is the period of his 6 months." Marriage of Shiva and Parvati. Shiva and Parvati were married in great pomp and celebration. The gods rejoiced to have Shiva back and married at the same time, and the heavens blessed their union. After they were married, Shiva and Parvati went back to Mount Kailash and made it their abode. It is said that once back at Mount Kailash, Shiva and Parvati proceeded to have such passionate lovemaking that the gods feared for the future of the world and were forced to go to Nandi and beg him to intervene. From this union, Lord Kama was reborn just as Parvati had foretold. Ever since then, Parvati and Shiva lived together in conjugal harmony, known to all as the perfect couple. Therefore, many know that Shiva and Parvati have the perfect marriage. The relationship of Shiva and Parvati has been depicted in many forms. Parvati is said to be the balancing factor in Shiva's life, only second to the intense meditation that he practices. When Shiva is angered and takes the form of Natraha, all the gods worry that Shiva will destroy the entire cosmos. But it is Parvati who calms down the angry Lord by matching his fierce and destructive Tandava dance with her own slow, graceful steps, thus complementing him at his best and at his worst. Shiva's personality is replete with dichotomies. On the one hand, Shiva is an ascetic who disappears from the mortal world into Mount Kailash and meditates there. On the other hand, he is a fierce and angry god whose temper knows no bounds. He will destroy everything in his path. Through all this, Parvati brings him back to balance by pulling him towards the role of a householder. Shiv Parvati Mantra. Om Hrim Yoginim Yogini Yogeswari Yoga Bahamkari Sakala Stavara Jangamasya Mukha Hridam Mama Vasam Arkasha Arkshaya Namaha. Meaning, in the first line we praise Goddess Parvati, and in the second line we request her to attract toward us. Mama Vasam Arkasha means attracts towards me. Benefits of Swam Parvati mantra. Avoid delay in marriage. Swamvar Parvati is the most beautiful mantra in removing all known and unknown obstacle in marriages. Help in love marriage. Swamvara Parvati, best of Vashikaran mantra, helps to love and marry and removes all obstacles in love and marriage provided the fate is in one's favor. Happy married life. One must try this Swayamvar Parvati mantra if there is absence of happiness between husband and wife. Swayamvar Parvati mantra will help in improving positive vibration and also in increasing love between couples. Infertility, problem in conceiving a baby. Swayamvar Parvati helps to induce positive vibration and helps in improving the love life between couples and helps a woman to conceive when fate is her favor. Avoid divorce. By matching the wavelength and improving the understanding between people, Swayamvar Parvati mantra helps in avoiding split between the couple. Swayamvar Parvati mantra procedure. Take Sankalpa. Sankalpa, spiritual resolve, vow. An oath should be taken in front of Goddess with one's name, relevant details, parent's name, Gotra, Nakshatra, and brief Goddess about one's problem and inform her that one does the japa 1008 times a day for 108 days with a request to remove the problems and help him, her to marry early, conceive, or improve understanding. Time taken for the dhyana 2 hours a day. Offerings as usual: Deepam, dope, pushpam, flowers, palam, fruits, nevadyam, food, and thambulam, betel leaf, and nut. Arti and namaskarams, namaste, should be offered daily at the end of recitation of the mantra.